Hey guys, Steve the drummer here, continuing my gear series. Today I want to talk about electronic drums and just start off with a brief story on essentially how I came to start using my electronic drums. And if you guys know anything, you'll know that probably none of my stories are brief. But anyhow, I said in an earlier video that I got started playing the drums again. The pastor in my church invited me to play drums there. And that kind of, they've got a house kit there, they've got a drum set there that I play. It's a Mapex kit or whoever happens to be playing that particular Sunday plays. But anyhow, I wanted to get back into drumming and start playing again. And so I did a little bit of research on drums and I honestly never really even considered electronic drums. I had always played acoustic drums historically, and this wasn't going to be any different. So I went to after doing some research, ultimately went to the drum store and I bought a kit of Red Sparkle Pearl Export drums, 5-piece kit, and I bought a cymbal pack to go with it. It was the Zildjian A's to go with it, and one of the reasons that led me to select the export kit was because it came with the hardware already included, where a lot of kits now have gone to just selling shell packs and you have to buy the hardware additionally. So that's kind of how I jumped back into things. Was I bought this Pearl Export kit and Zildjian cymbals and brought it all home and set it up here in our office slash music room slash bonus room, and started playing, and the wife and the kids were like, "Holy cow, that's really, really loud." And so obviously I was kind of relegated to practicing when the kids were in school and when my wife was at work. Well, kind of a twist of fate. My wife ended up taking a job where she was working from home, and so it wasn't practical to have acoustic drums in the house anymore. And I wanted to hold on to the acoustic drums. I started jamming with some different bands, and I wanted to have drums to take with me to band practice to play with. But that kind of led me down the road of getting an electronic drum set for home. So that I could practice more quietly and be a little bit more friendly to the home environment. If nothing else, not only was I bothering the kids and the wife, but I was absolutely scaring the dog to death. So anyhow, I didn't know much about electronic drums. Did very little bit of research, and actually, I will say when it comes to electronic drums, probably my number one source of information has been historically 65 Drums. Everybody is probably subscribed to Justin Greenwalt's channel, 65 Drums. It's got a great channel, lots of great information and all. And I did a little bit of research, but probably not as much as I should have. And I went back to the music store and I bought a TD11K drum set. And I'll try to stick a picture of that drum set in here. And as you can see from that picture, it's very compact. It featured a mesh pad for the snare drum, and then a couple of rubber pads for the toms. It had a CY, I think it had two CY8s, one for a crash and one for a crash ride. They're both 2-zone cymbals, and then I think a CY5 was the hi-hat with a foot controller for the open close for the hi-hat controller. So anyhow, I played that kit, and I actually, in a lot of ways, I was really happy with it. I was really surprised at how far along electronic drums had come, and they sounded pretty good. And I got to the point that I actually even took them to band practice once or twice, thinking that I would be able to use them there. And that it's one of those things where the TD11 kit was good. It was nice. But it wasn't quite exactly what I needed. It was like it was great for practicing. Maybe kind of sort of could have used it for playing with the band. And then the sounds, I could have probably gotten like some VSTs and souped up the sounds a little bit and been able to record with it. But anyhow, I would put that kit. It was a good jumping off point. So when I tried to make some modifications to that kit. The TD11K has the rubber pads for toms and the CY8s for crashes, The next drum set up in the line is the TD11KV. Since I had invested the money in the TD11K, I wanted to try to improve it and modify it a little bit. So I went on eBay and I bought some additional pads, and I've actually still got some of them here, and I'll show them here. I bought this. Originally, the kit had the PDX 8 pad for a snare drum, and then 3 PD8s, which were the black rubber pads for the toms. Well, I went on eBay and I bought an additional PDX 8, which matched the snare drum that became the floor tom, and 2 PDX 6s for rack toms to replace the black PD8 pads. And in addition to that, I bought a CY12 as a crash cymbal, and actually that's another CY12. I've actually already put it on this kit, but I bought a CY12 to replace one CY8 and a CY13R to replace the other CY8. And the 13R is a 2-zone cymbal for your ride. I'm sorry, it's a 3-zone cymbal for your ride. It's got a bell sound, a bow sound, and an edge sound. So those are some things that I did to modify my TD11K, and I essentially turned it into a TD11KV for not a whole lot of money. And I continued to play the kit, and I really debated about what I wanted to do. And I looked at the TD30, and of course the TD50 had come out, and there's the TD25, and I really, not in a bajillion years, could justify spending the money for a TD50. That was way too extravagant, and I really couldn't imagine spending the money on a TD30, and so I had really kind of relegated myself to thinking that I was going to get the TD25 as an upgrade. I was going to get rid of the TD11 and go to the TD25, and I was really going in that direction. There's a lot of things about that kit that I actually really like. It has a fairly simple module on it. It only has 18 kits, but the way the module's laid out, it's very easy to navigate. And if you guys have seen my other videos, you know that I'm not the sharpest computer guy whatsoever. So simple and easy to navigate really seemed like a good thing to do. And so I was going hard in that direction. My concerns with the TD25, I wanted the TD25 KV, not the K, because I wanted to get to these pads, and I'll be able to show you better once I come around the kit, but I wanted to get to these pads that don't have this plastic on the edge, because this is essentially a 7 or 8 inch pad, but it only has a 6 inch playing surface. And when you hit this area here, it just doesn't sound good. It's a cheaper pad, and it just doesn't sound as good. And so I wanted to go to the better pads that had just the rubber rim on them. So I definitely wanted the TD25 KV, not the TD25K. Well, lo and behold, kind of out of thin air, I saw an absolutely excellent deal on this drum set. It was used, and it was on Reverb, and this is a TD30K, and it was just a deal I couldn't pass up. Essentially, it was just a little bit more than a TD25 KV would have been, plus shipping. And so that's what I did. Was I bought this. This is a TD30K. I'm just going to read off the list here. The pads. The kick pad is a KD120. The snare pad is a PD125. 3 tom pads are the PDX 100s. The hi-hat's a VH11. It comes standard with a CY12 crash cymbal, which I have one of those right here, and the second crash is a CY13R. And like I said earlier, when I purchased some additional parts for my TD11, I already had a CY13, so I've actually got 2 CY13s up, and the CY12's not hanging at presently. What I'm using for a ride cymbal is a CY15R, which is like the 13-inch version. It's got 2 plug-ins and 3 sensors, one for the bell, one for the bow, and one for the edge. And then the rack system is the MDS 50K. Now there's some, I really like playing, obviously the module's a TD30. I really like playing the kit. It plays really nice. I would have to say that I'm like 95%, maybe 90 to 95% satisfied with the kit. And there's probably a handful of things that I can do from here to improve upon it. Oh, one other thing that I've got here is a BT1 bar trigger, and I use that just to trigger different sounds. In some cases I use it as a cowbell, as a tambourine, hand claps. I use it as an X-hat on this side of the kit. And it's actually my intention, these things are fairly economical. I'm probably going to get more of these BT1s and add them to different points in the kit, and have one always as a dedicated X-hat, and one always as a cowbell, and one always as a hand clap, and one always as a tambourine. But that's down the road, and something that I'm looking at doing in the future. But anyhow, I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to bring it around the kit and give you a little bit of a tour and show you some different things. Real quick before I do that, last specs that I got off the internet, it says it's 59 inches wide, 49 inches deep, and weighs 86 pounds. This kit is not as compact as the TD11 was, but I feel like there's some nice features that make it make the size and the weight definitely worthwhile. All right, so coming into the office here and kind of panning around the drum set, a couple of things that I want to point out here. I mentioned the drum rack earlier. It's slightly larger than the rack, obviously, on the TD11. But one of the really nice features about this particular drum rack is, and I don't know if you can see here, but the wiring for the pads actually runs through the tube or the tubing of the rack. And so you can see kind of over here in this corner where all the wiring coming out of the back of the module, if you just kind of follow that around, it actually runs into the rack at that point, and then some of the wiring comes out here, stuff that would apply to this side of the kit, and some of the wiring comes out over on this side. And I'm sorry about these horrible camera angles and kind of shaking the camera around and all. I hope I haven't made anybody sick. But anyhow, the rack, like I said, it actually houses the wiring. And so that helps, I don't know if you can really tell, but that does in some ways give it a little bit of a cleaner look, and just kind of help keep things organized a little bit. And then as I come around the drum set here, coming back to my seat, obviously we've got the module on the left there, and I get questions about on the drum covers regarding exactly how that goes. Basically, we've got 3 knobs up top here. One's a mix-in, one's a phones, and one's master, and that's on the top right-hand side of the module here. So basically, I've just got my iPhone, or in this case, it's being used as an iPod, plugged. There's an 1/8 inch jack running right off my phone, and that runs into the module. And then so I basically take that mix in and turn the volume of the music to an appropriate level to where the drums are. And then the phones is what controls what I'm actually hearing in the headset as far as the mix between the iPod and the drums, how loud I'm actually hearing the whole thing. And then that master out is actually the volume of what's going out, leaving the module and going into my iPad. And I record directly into my iPad via it's an 1/8 inch jack, and via this device right here, and I've got a piece of blue tape on it just to mark that it's a good one, because I've had 2 of these and one of them broke, and so I put blue tape on the good one to know. But this is an iRig, and so basically I've got an 1/8 inch jack running directly out of my module into this iRig, and there's a it's a 1/4-inch jack running into the iRig, and then there's an 1/8-inch jack that runs out of that, and that runs directly into my iPad, and I record directly into my iPad. And so anyhow, that's what I use to make drum covers. It's probably the simplest possible setup that you can have. And then once I have the video and the audio file are one and the same, so they're synced up. And so then I take that and put it into iMovie and chop the ends off and maybe put a color filter on it and a label and attach a picture to it. And my drum covers are really simple as far as audio, as far as mixing, and as far as the way they're put together. And you probably already saw that based on the quality of what's coming out. The quality's okay. It's not great, it's not horrible, it's just kind of in the middle of the road. Panning around the kit here, I've got my Sennheiser headphones, and you can just kind of see coming around the kit. And there's the BT1 trigger bar and the cymbals and everything. One thing I will say, and I know there are solutions to this problem, I just don't, it's actually not mounted to the bass drum, it's actually just sitting in front of the pad, and this may be a better angle to show that. And so basically the plate on the front of that KD120 kick pad is actually too high to mount that pedal to it, and so it's just sitting on the floor in front of it. And the downside of that is, especially louder songs or more aggressive playing, my bass drum pedal kind of works its way off the bass drum, and so that's just an oh by the way that I kind of have to deal with, and I'm sure there's a fix for that. I just don't happen to have it or know it. So anyhow, there you have it. There's a quick tour of my TD30K electronic drum set, and I'll make a follow-up video to come out in another week or so where I'll get into some other aspects.